Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a really quite provocative piece,
Oh,
actually.
no.
It's called Why Women at 60 Plus Are the Most Alluring Lovers in Veneration of the Matriarch. It was in TATANKA, April 16th, 2025.
Ah, okay. I remember seeing that headline. Definitely caught my eye. It really challenges the usual narrative, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It flips the script entirely. So, our mission today, for everyone listening, is basically to unpack the main arguments here. We want to understand why the article makes this claim that women in their 60s and beyond are hitting this, like, peak of sensuality.
Driven by things like confidence experience.
Exactly. Confidence, experience, and a kind of freedom. We're going to cut through the noise and get to the core ideas.
Sounds good. It's
Yeah.
fascinating right away because, it tackles those ingrained assumptions about age and attractiveness head on.
Totally. It doesn't just gently question them. It basically says the idea of being past your prime is just wrong. Old-fashioned thinking.
Which really sets the stage for rethinking what allure even is.
Right. So let's start with that confidence piece. The article argues that women over 60 often have this deep, almost embodied confidence.
Embodied, yeah. Like it's settled in their bones.
Precisely. It talks about moving past self-doubt, no longer needing to impress anyone. There are these great little phrases, no more second-guessing, no more needing to impress.
And loving from a place of fullness. I like that.
Me too. So for the listener, the insight is that this earned self-assurance, this lack of needing validation, it becomes, well, magnetic. Why do you think that kind of confidence reads as so alluring?
Well, connecting it back, I think it boils down to authenticity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The article implies this isn't a put-on confidence. It's real, earned through, living life.
The bumps and all.
Exactly. And there's something incredibly attractive about someone who is genuinely okay in their own skin, not constantly seeking external approval. That self-acceptance is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that authenticity links directly to the next point, the power of lived experience, especially in intimacy.
The erotic intelligence bit.
Yes, it highlights this emotional maturity and, as you said, erotic intelligence cultivated over years. And when they say erotic intelligence, it feels like they mean a deeper knowing of oneself, of desire, and how to connect with a partner's desires too.
It's not just physical technique then.
No, not at all. The article stresses communication, valuing emotional safety, approaching touch with real intention. It calls the intimacy soulful.
Suggesting a depth beyond just the physical act, which makes sense. Decades of relationships, understanding your own emotional world, you'd bring a certain wisdom to the table.
An emotional wisdom, yeah.
It's about the whole environment, that ability to truly see someone and feel seen yourself, that deep connection. It's a huge draw.
Okay, and here's where it gets, I think, really interesting how the article reframes the aging body.
Right, not as decline, but as
As a map of her life. Wrinkles aren't just wrinkles, they're laugh lines and wisdom paths. Silver hair is a crown earned.
I love that imagery, crown earned.
It's great, isn't it? And it argues the sensuality at this age is different. It's felt, present, grounded. It's not a performance.
Not performative. That's key.
And there's this quote, "There is immense beauty in a body that has lived fully and loves deeply." What do you take away from that shift in perspective on the body?
Well, it's a direct challenge to, the beauty standards we're constantly bombarded with.
The youth obsession.
Exactly. It says true beauty, true allure, isn't about conforming to some impossible narrow ideal. It's about embracing the journey, the story the body tells, appreciating the richness, the depth that time brings, instead of seeing it as flawed.
And that acceptance of the lived-in body ties into the next idea, freedom. Freedom from the performance trap.
Ah, yes. Contrasting the pressures of youth with the liberation later on.
Right. The article says sex can become play, not performance. Pleasure becomes shared, not choreographed. Desire is self-led, not approval-seeking.
That sounds incredibly freeing.
Doesn't it? There's a real sense of empowerment there. The focus shifts, like you said, away from external expectations.
Towards just mutual enjoyment, honoring what feels good authentically.
Yeah. And when you lift that pressure to perform, what's left is presumably genuine connection and pleasure for its own sake.
Which sounds a lot more fulfilling, honestly.
It really does. Then the article brings in this idea of the matriarch figure, someone who's mastered presence.
Deep listening, truly seeing someone.
Yes, and creating a space of, what was the exact phrase? Deep emotional safety.
Wow, deep emotional safety. That feels foundational for any real connection, really.
It does, and it's interesting how the article presents that as a core part of the allure, this ability to offer profound understanding and
It
safety.
suggests it's rare, doesn't it?
Extremely rare and valuable in a world that can feel pretty superficial sometimes, that kind of deep, safe holding space.
Hmm.
Well, it becomes incredibly desirable.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
People crave that kind of genuine seeing.
And then, taking it even further, it touches on the crone archetype.
Okay, now that term can be loaded.
It definitely can be. Historically, it hasn't always been positive, but the article reclaims it. It presents the crone as the height of feminine power, wise, insightful, a keeper of cycles.
So not the negative stereotype at all.
Not at all. It frames loving a woman at this stage as being, and this is quite a phrase, touched by the sacred.
Touched by the sacred, that adds a whole other dimension, almost spiritual.
It does. It links this stage of life to profound wisdom and understanding, reclaiming an archetype that's often been pushed aside or misunderstood.
So it's like all these elements, the confidence, the experience, the freedom, the presence, even this reclaimed archetype.
They all build up to the article's main point. It's a central argument, which is pretty bold.
Go on.
It says, a woman over 60 isn't past her prime. She is the prime. Often the best lover, the deepest partner, the most fully realized woman.
Wow. Okay, that completely inverts the usual thinking.
Completely. And it ends with this incredibly powerful line. She is not your second choice. She is your evolution.
Your evolution, that's quite a statement. So the ultimate takeaway here is that the accumulation of life, the shedding of insecurities, the embracing of authenticity, it all culminates in someone who isn't just alluring, but potentially represents a more evolved form of partnership.
That seems to be exactly the argument.
Right.
So just to wrap up our deep dive into this TATANKA piece for everyone listening, it's really a celebration of mature sensuality,
Rooted in confidence,
Yeah.
experience.
freedom from those old pressures, and a really deep capacity for connection and presence.
Yeah. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? It raises that final question for you, the listener.
What if?
Right. What if society actually embraced these ideas more widely? How might our views on age, on desirability, how might they shift?
And what richness might we find in relationships and understanding ourselves?
If we truly valued experience and saw allure as something that evolves and deepens rather than fades, it definitely encourages a reflection on what we value.
A reflection on the beauty of a life fully lived. Definitely food for thought.